So there's some topics I wanted to talk about in regards to nationalism, the government, and religion being a part of. Then I started thinking, well, I've been wanting to make a more podcast type episodes, kind of freelancing it, not talking about politics, talking about random stuff because I like talking to younger people now. So this all happened when I became an uncle for the first time. When my nephews started to grow up, being kids. When they're kids, you play with them. I started letting them play with my stuff, and then I quickly became that cool uncle that takes them to the store, drives them somewhere, wrestles with them, makes them laugh. So then you start thinking, how are they going to grow up? You start thinking, how are they going to grow up? What are they going to like when they grow up? They're going to get into rap, start dressing thuggish. Are they going to be like us, into rock? So you start worrying about how they're going to be, especially once they get into high school, and especially you knowing that how much corruption there is, and how much perversion there is in school. Like, I learned everything that was X-rated from school, from friends, hearing people talk about things. Looking back, I was pretty oblivious to what was going on, especially in high school. I did not think people were committing the things they were committing until you heard it directly after. So you start worrying about it, and then you start feeling like, man, I'm old now, because I'm always looking to have that serious conversation. I'm always looking to have that serious talk instead of just having fun. So almost at any moment that I got, I try to talk to my nephews about, important stuff, a lot of religion, and then there was issues with their parent not believing in the same religion, the same God, I guess. And so where I'm leading at is that I reached the point where I was already older, where I was already the older one, where I was already, older than most people around me, where I was already older than the people that I work with, when before I used to be always the younger one. I was the younger one in the group. I was the younger one at work. I work with older heads, like white-haired dudes that have been around since, the 70s or something. So then you come to realize, like, man, I'm that age now. I'm the age, and I think it hit me. Part of growing up is worrying about the younger ones, right? You don't think about that as much when you're growing up. Like, oh, I better grow up to be a good role model for certain people. In my 20s, it was about having fun. I wanted to go out and have fun. And I had this conversation recently with a friend, with a brother from church, that he asked me if I knew how much influence I had on them, on the friends that I hung around with, especially the younger ones. And thinking about it, I didn't really know how much influence I had. I know they would get influenced because certain styles that I liked, either in dressing or bands, I know they would also like it too. But I thought that's just everybody's friends circle. You'd have similar tastes and similar likes, but as into being a role model, no, I didn't think about that. I was more worried about having fun. As weird or as immature as that may sound, that was my goal. Like, even before that YOLO phrase came in, you only live once, that's what I always thought, because I was always afraid of getting old. That was probably my number one fear, aside from losing a parent, was growing old. And I was thinking about, man, what if I'm going to be 70, 75, 80, dressing in khakis, needing a cane, needing assistance, not having the energy to talk or walk, and everyone looking at me like, oh, look at that old man. But inside my mind, I'm pretty sure older people too, it's like there's a younger person trapped in there that their physical body doesn't let them act or look younger anymore. So that was always my fear, is being an old man. And I remember I used to always think I'd rather God take my life before I reach that age. Oh, maybe not too much. So let me see. Take my life maybe at 65 to 70. Because after 70, it's like too old. That's how I used to think when I was younger. I'm not saying I think that now. Obviously, when you have kids, you want to live as long as you possibly can. I want to live as long as I possibly can, even if I'm a shriveled up little shrimp. But I want to be able to see my kids and talk to my kids as much as possible. And the conversation, going back to the conversation that we had when he asked me if I knew how much influence I had, no, I did not. I did not think like that until, I had nephews, until I realized, wait a minute, I could steer them in a better path than anybody out there. I could steer them in a path maybe that I wasn't steered so much in, even though obviously I didn't have that bad of a life or that bad of a crazy life. But I thought if I could help them, be better in life, if they look up to me, you feel it. You feel that difference when someone looks for you, looks to you on what you say, and they take it seriously. So you start feeling that responsibility. It starts building up on your shoulders. But you also like to do it because you also want the best for them, right? I wanted the best for my nephews and nieces, and obviously now my kids, even though they're still young. Well, my daughter's 9 already, so I have to be careful on a lot of stuff with her. But once you feel that responsibility, it's like, it's not a game. It's not a game anymore. It's not about having fun. It's about being able to make a difference for the better. And that became my thing. That became more what I was interested in. Like times that on birthday parties, I would always take a moment to try to have a conversation with my nephews. And even though most of them are in Las Vegas right now, what I would think about in visiting them also was who's going on the ride there. Like, who could I talk to on the 3-4 hours that we're going to drive there? Because I feel like I want to tell them as much as possible, but I don't want to overdo it. So I was always cautious with overdoing it, because if I was that cool uncle that they tell me everything and they trust me, but if I start sounding like a parent too much, they're not going to want to come to me. They're not going to want to tell me things that they should tell me that they probably wouldn't tell their own mom or dad. So I regret not being more like a parent now, looking back, because my older nephews are in their 20s, and I think I missed some opportunity when they were in their teens in high school to make more of a difference. So all this is part of growing up, right? All this is part of getting old. And once I realized that I was like that older person, it changes your perspective on everything, on why you want to live longer, on the decisions that you make, because it seems like you're on a stage now and there's an audience there. Because if you're the one that grew up, as a Christian, and you profess Christianity and being a good person and living a good life, now you can't just talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. So I would say it's a unique feeling to know that someone younger looks up to you, or what you tell them can make a difference, can make an impact. I would like to think I made somewhat of an impact to them at this point, and still more. I still have younger nephews, 16 years old, and a couple younger ones that, I started to realize I'm that older guy. And in that conversation that I had about being a role model, I barely learned that I was more influential than what I knew I was. But I wasn't in that age yet, or in that mindset, in that maturity yet to think, oh well, let me say better things. I mean, not that I was a bad influence, because I don't think I was a bad influence. I always kept going to church, and I never like partied or drank, or that was always frowned upon. So I think everybody around me knew that, but not to the point where more lessons in life, like what's going to happen. Although I would say this, I was good when it came to one-on-one. If someone comes to me asking for advice or what do I think about a certain topic, I have to dig into what they're feeling that way, why are they feeling that way, and what I could do to help them. And that's something that I've had since I was young. To the point where the first time that I could remember that I was trying to make a difference and trying to change someone feeling down. So I'm the younger one of 5. My older brother, the oldest one, he was going through something. He was going through tough times. I think he was only 13 or 14 at the time. And I started talking to him. He kept telling me that he felt stressed and down and so many negative things. And it bothered me. It really bothered me. Like, why is my brother feeling like this? So I started asking him, like, what is it that makes you feel this way? He was like telling me, I don't have enough clothes right now. Like, I'm wearing the same jeans over and over. And I was like, well, why don't you tell my mom? Like, in my young mind, I was a kid. I was like, why don't you tell my mom to buy some pants? Oh, I've told her, and they said we're going to go, but we don't go, and that. And then he mentioned some other stuff about school. And I was like, well, what if I tell my mom to buy you those jeans that you need? Like, is that going to make you feel better? He was like, yeah, it would. And whatever, I kept talking to him, and I was like, okay, I'll be right back. And I ran to my mom's room, and I was like, Mom, like, Jose's really feeling like this. He's feeling this, and that, because, he doesn't have clothes. Why don't you buy him clothes? He wants these certain pants that he likes the way they fit, and blah, blah, blah. And I asked her, could you buy him that? He needs it. And I was like telling her, like, he needs it. I don't know what Mom must have been thinking at the time. So we're like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll buy him pants. And I was like, when? Could you go this week? And blah, blah, blah. And so I ran back. We had a half story. We were up the stairs. And I was like, oh, my mom said that she's going to buy these pants. And, so you don't have to worry about that. And that was me genuinely feeling like empathy for someone that was going through something and me trying to help. I was like, whatever I could do to help. And that feeling that I had in wanting to help somebody in distress, it just grew more and more as I grew up. Like, in high school, I talked to people on the phone a lot. It was back before internet, of course. And I used to talk a lot on the phone because people used to talk to me just to tell me how they felt. I used to talk to girls. I used to talk to a lot of girls. And there was a misconception in that. Guys that talk to girls, especially the girls that they don't talk to all the guys, but they will talk to me. It looks like, the misconception was, I was like a player talking to girls. But in reality, they were talking to me about their issues or even about their problems with their boyfriends. So I wasn't talking to them. I wasn't like spitting game or trying to hook up. I was literally talking to them as advice and helping them out. So me being this way, like, accumulated it grew over time, and it changed when I became an uncle, and I started seeing that my nephews, they were kids, but I could influence them, and they started liking the same things that I liked, and I kind of taste of what it was to be how a dad feels. Then eventually, of course, I had my own kids, and they're still young, but there was always that urgency, that need to help steer them in the right path, both spiritually and not non-spiritually, I guess. And lo and behold, I'm an unk, and I became an old head before I knew it. And that's where, like, life passes you by so fast. I guess this is the other section where I'm going to talk about growing older and life comes at you fast. I remember this commercial when I was younger. It's a dad pushing his little girl on the swing, and he's pushing her, and she's off camera when she swings, and when she comes back, she's like a teenager, and it hits him, and he falls back, and he looks up at her, and the daughter was like, "Dad," and now that 4-year-old was like 16, and the phrase was, "Life comes at you fast." And I remember thinking about that commercial. I was like, man, that must be how life feels for adults, I guess. And of course, here I am now, where life came to me very fast. Like I'm that older person now, and I think it hit me when I realized. So there's like a golden age of my childhood, right? And I think it's between 88 and 92. And once I realized that I'm the age that my father was during that time when I was a kid, that's when it kind of hit me hard. I'm like, I'm now how my dad was when I was a kid, and when, he would go to the garage and work on the car, fix things, or we would watch movies in the living room. Like, some of my favorite movies are all between that time. And now it makes sense, like, why all of my favorite movies growing up are between the time. Those are the movies that I would see as a family or with my dad. And I'm like, man, now I'm that age. Now I'm that dad, and my kids see me like. So that dawned on me, like, how much older I really am. Like, to the point where I didn't think far enough ahead that I would be in my 40s. And here I am in my 40s. Midlife crisis. I think I'll be surprised if somebody does not go through some form of midlife crisis. I'm not saying I'm going through it. Why? Because I already went through it. I went through it years ago in my late 30s. When it started dawning on me that I'm never going to reach a point physically in a sport where I wanted to, because I probably couldn't anymore, that's when it started to bug me. That's when it started to feel like, man, my life is passed me by. Like, I still think I could get in shape. It's not easy anymore. There's all these weird joint pains now. But I'm that age that my dad was when I graduated high school, and I have a picture that I took with them. And I'm like, now I'm that dad. I think my kids are much younger because my dad had all 5 of us by the time he was like 29. I'm 43 and I have a 11-month-old, so big difference there. So it's a responsibility to be a role model. Like, if you're an older person, if you're in your late 30s and 40s and you don't feel like you're a role model, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, I don't know if it's dawned on you that there's people that look up to you and that there's a difference you can make. And getting to this age, it's just been I'm surprised every time how old I am, and sometimes how old I feel and how old I look. I remember a time when you could get out of bed and you wake up, you're like, crap, I have to do this, and you spring up out of bed and you put on your shoes and you walk. You don't think anything like, oh, whoa, my back, or ow, my feet hurt. You don't, because that didn't exist back then. And now I'm in an age where you get up slowly. You don't just get up and walk. Like, that doesn't happen. You have to get up slowly. You have to walk. You feel the sore, like, I feel soreness on my feet because I used to have plantar fasciitis, and I feel the soreness sometimes when I get up on the arc of my foot because I have flat feet to top it off. Getting older is inevitable. It's gonna happen. I wish there was a way it didn't happen. And you start thinking back of like, man, I'm past my prime. Like, once you realize you're past your prime and you're never gonna be that good at something that you want to be good at someday, like, I thought, you know what? Eventually I'm gonna invest more time playing basketball where I could really be good at it. Well, when? It didn't happen in my 20s. It didn't happen in my 30s. But you don't know how it's gonna be married with kids until you're there. And you realize you don't have that kind of time. Like, yeah, sure, I'm sure there's married guys that go play basketball still, but there's other things that they probably would want to do that they can't do. So, getting older, one of the things that was difficult to except I guess besides the fact that I'm my dad's age when I was looking up to him and saw him like older, saw him at an age I was never gonna reach. I didn't think I was gonna reach this age. Um, Coincidentally, I'm talking about age and my birthday's tomorrow. That was my plan, by the way. But I think one of the things that hit me hard was getting white hair. See, I didn't mind so much white hair, and I used to say that like I don't care if I get white hair when I grow up because you can always dye it. What I care about is losing hair because you can't dye what you don't have, right? And then I thought, wow, losing your hair is kind of like out of your control. It's inevitable. Like you're either gonna lose it or you're not. Like sure, there's things you could do, but from what I've read and heard, it's genetic and it's just gonna happen. If it's gonna happen to you, it's gonna happen sooner rather than later. So I look back at pictures and videos from a few years back in my late 30s, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I had pretty much a full set of hair. You can see some thinning, but nothing where it would really like put a dampen your physical confidence, I guess you could say. I never thought I would be that guy that's like, damn, he's bald, or damn, he's balding already. And here I am. So my hair started falling off within the past year, I think 2023 till now. It's been like non-stop. I can't stop it. It seemed to slow down the beginning of this year, and I was like, okay, I have some hair where I can still kind of hide the balding on the crown. But no, it's kept on going, and I think that's the one thing about getting old that has really been unfortunate. That has really bothered me more than anything else, because that's one thing I used to worry about since I was young. And the thing that has helped me is that I had so much hair. I had hair like a sponge, like some Asians do, where it's like super thick. And every time I would get a haircut, the hair person, lady, or whatever would complain, or they'll make a comment. Why am I so low? They would make a comment like, "Oh, it says your hair is so thick. Oh, it says you have two remolinos here, and it's hard to like cut it." I would always hear that. I was like, "Yeah, I have thick hair," and I think because I have so much thick hair is the reason why I'm not 80% bald. Because if you grew up with someone with thin hair and you start to bald, it's gone. It would have been gone by now. So the whole thing, like, I can't believe I'm that guy who's balding. Like, I never thought I was gonna reach that age. Maybe when I'm, like an old, like a grandpa or something. And it's to the point where I'm like looking at everyone's hair. I'm like, wow, his hair's thicker than mine and he's older. I was like, why is his hair thicker than mine? And to the point where I saw people that were balding years ago, and I used to look and be like, eesh, that must suck. And guess what? Not only am I there, I'm worse than them now. Like, how did that happen? Life just comes at you too fast. One day you're having fun, worried about what you're gonna do this weekend, how you're gonna have fun with your friends, what movie you're gonna watch, where you're gonna go. The next thing, you're worried about being able to have enough time to go to the gym, about having the time to cut up a savila leaf and mix it and pour it on your head. That's how fast life comes to you. And I've talked to some of the younger, some of the youth in church, and I've told them, like, everything's gonna change. Right now you're young, and like, I was you at that point. I mean, I haven't talked to a lot of them. I think I would really want to more, but I was like, man, I was in your shoes not too long ago, where me and my friends, and we used to hang out after and talk and laugh, and the older guys would, like, sometimes they would act cool, but they always had a common denominator. Like, they would always clown on you, or they would always act like a prick. Like, the older heads were always like that. I don't think I'm like that, but I could come off pretty hard. Yeah, the white hairs. So I have a lot of red hair, especially on my beard, or should I say had, because the red hairs are the ones turning white first. Something is up with red hair. And I realized, well, gingers, you never see a redhead or a ginger older of age with a full set of hair. Do you? Like, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen one. My dad is obviously, whoever knows him, a full blown ginger, and he lost his hair a long time ago. So I'm thinking, I've never seen a redhead dude. Obviously, different for girls. Girls don't bald the same way, but I've never seen a redheaded guy in his 50s or 60s with not only a full set of hair, which is a lot of hair. And it is because redheaded people, gingers, have a lot less follicles in their head than the average person. That wasn't my case, so, or else I would have been bald. But if I was born a redhead, I think I would have been bald by now. I should be worried about being alive to see if he's gonna bald or not, right? One thing with me, I noticed it at 30 years old because I worked graveyard shift for a couple of years. When I would wake up, not only was I swollen from under my eye, the crease would go to my cheek. And on days that it was the worst, the crease was at my cheek. And I would look at me like, man, I really didn't get enough sleep this week because the crease is all the way to my cheek. But it would go away. Well, guess what's permanently there now? The crease on my cheek. So you can't see it right now. But once you start seeing like the chicken's foot, the crow's foot, whatever the heck it's called, on your eyes, you start seeing that white hair, you start balding, you start not being able to get out of bed so easily, you start having issues when you're trying to work out or go to the gym that you didn't encounter. Age is probably one of the most bitter pills to swallow, at least for me. Yeah, they say age is nothing but a number, but when you feel it, you feel those numbers stacking up on top. So if for anybody young out there, I mean, obviously, this episode was just me talking about myself and my feelings, my thoughts, my experiences getting old. Maybe not everybody takes getting older tough because not everybody ages the same way, but the way I aged in the past few years has been really difficult to take. So I feel like I'm just doing damage control at this point with wrinkles, with balding, with white hair, with trying to lose weight. It's like an uphill battle. So if you're young and you go to the gym, try to never abandon that. Never fully abandon the gym or being active, because you'll feel the difficulty in your 30s and you feel how, not impossible, but when you have, full-time job, married, kids, it gets difficult. You're not going to be single. You're not going to have the time that you have right now every day of your life. That's not going to happen. It's inevitable. You have to make the best out of it. You have to do what you can. Do what you can while you're young. It's never too late. It's never too late to still do what you want to do, but it just gets harder. It gets that much harder. And you have to worry about your health because all that's out there is processed food that goes against our health. So I just wanted to share my struggles in aging, growing up, getting older, because even now I still see myself as that young kid who's just trying to have fun and not trying to be a role model, but you have to be an example now, especially when you've garnered all this experience and you've been through obstacles in life and you've been able to come out of them. Now you can help people that are going through obstacles in life and you can help them come out of it. But that's it. Aging sucks. It's inevitable, but you just have to live on the present day, because if you're like me where you have tons of photos and you could always look back at how things once were, it's gonna hold you back from continuing or moving forward. It's about living on the present day and making the best of what you can, regardless of how difficult things get. Signing off, Unc and Dad. This has been my podcast. Peace out.